of Swanzey. Beginning with the roll call, Scott Self, I am here. Michael York.
Yeah.
Richard Lane.
Here.
Brandon Self will not be here. Victoria Ames.
Here.
Mark Scalera.
Here.
And Selectman's Rep Mark Lavelle is not here. Alternate Jane Johnson, not here. Stacy Goodell, alternate.
Here.
Is here. Charlie Harbeck, alternate, is here. So I will see, let's see, I sat Stacy last time. I will seat Charlie for Brandon. And tonight's agenda is the approval of the minutes of January 22nd, 2026. We have no public hearings, and under discussions and other business, we have a new tenant application at 223 Monadnock Highway, and finalized rules of procedure, and site plan review regulations, discussion, and then adjournment. So going back to the top, anybody think we need a regional impact vote?
No.
Do not believe so.
Okay, and we will skip over the regional impact vote and go right to the approval of the minutes of January 22nd. And is there a motion to, or are there any changes or motion to approve the minutes of January 22nd?
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion by Victoria, seconded by Mark. Is there any further discussion, changes, or otherwise? Then all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, they're closed. Right to the top of the order, we've got a new tenant application, and that is in our packets here. Let's see, we have notes from staff, which I'll go over right now. This application may require submission of a new site plan. Prior use of the property was a contracting and remodeling business, whereas the current proposal is for a dog kennel and daycare. While a dog kennel and daycare is not expressly listed as a permitted use within the business district, it could reasonably be interpreted as falling under the definition of a service establishment. The ordinance references kennels only within the rural agricultural district, where they are identified as a permitted use. If a kennel is determined to be a distinct use separate from the service establishment, the proposal may require both site plan approval and a variance. This further underscores the need, I don't need to read that, that's for other stuff there. That has to do with their application. So we got the application here, and it's saying here, I'll just go right through it. It's a new tenant application, and it's for Amanda Swanson, and that would be Amanda Swanson
Yes.
right there. And let's see, it's going to be a 223 Monadnock Highway, and it's in the business zoning district, tax map 106, lot 53, and it's a small-scale dog boarding and daycare facility, and it's already existing building on the lot, and their hours are 6 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. Monday through Sunday. Estimated customers per day 5 to 8. Parking spaces planned 5. Number of full-time employees 1. Number of part-time 1. Number of pickups and deliveries each day/week 0 to 3. And pickup and delivery would be personal vehicle or delivery trucks, and the outside lighting would be exterior lighting located on the front and rear of the building, and no special licenses and no permits. So coming back to the top, this looks like it says small-scale boarding and daycare facility. It sounds like you're going to be taking care of pets for the day. Is that what it is? Like a
Yeah, sometimes hopefully overnight too, if people are boarding, but I anticipate mainly daycare. So
would you be boarding for weeks at a time?
here, I don't think that's probably likely. I do have another boarding facility in New Mexico.
Let's put it this way. Are you advertising for boarding for weeks at a time?
No.
Okay. So, again, it's more or less, or more a daycare, doggy daycare, I guess, than anything else. So we have to decide whether we think that's a full-blown kennel or if it's a doggy daycare.
You did say you could have overnight boarding.
Yes, there will be overnight boarding.
Will there be an attendant overnight with them?
No. There's cameras.
What about fencing? Dogs are escape artists, I have them.
Yes, they are. I do have, it's not like a fixed fence, I guess, if you would. So it's not like a wooden fence or like a vinyl fence, but I do have like wire fencing that I'm going to put up for that reason.
Is that like a chain link fence, something like that?
Kind of. I don't know how familiar you are with what Tractor Supply sells. It's actually, I think, marketed more for chickens, but I've used it for the last 5 years at my other facility, and they've always worked very well.
Okay.
Yeah, how tall are you gonna make the fencing?
Those are 6 feet.
So things like Dobermans and Shepherds will go right over that.
Some of them do. I have one that does, so I do plan on putting covers on some of the runs for that reason.
So, this is an application for a new tenant, and generally with a new tenant, it has to be similar or the same use as was prior use in the building, which this one was the cabinetry building, I think cabinetry, that type of things. So, we've got to decide as a board whether this is a new tenant or she has to come in with a modified site plan for this use. And that has to do with, if it's going to be a doggy daycare, it would have to do with maybe noise issues of dogs barking outside, to notify the neighbors. I'm not exactly sure where this is, so I don't know how many neighbors are around there, but I'm saying that to be fair to the neighbors, we generally have a public hearing to allow them to weigh in on something like this, if there's going to be noise and those types of things outside. So, yes.
Do you mind if I weigh in just for a second?
Yes, go right ahead.
So the site plan existing for this property is it was done a while ago, not very easy to review, look at in a forum like this. It's been a new tenant in the same building for a while now. It's occupied by DeBrothers Contracting. They moved to their new location. It's been sitting empty for a bit, for probably about 18 months. It has adequate parking, and I'm assuming adequate internal space, but we're lacking that full site plan for a use like this. So I think staff would also support the idea of coming in with a new site plan for this specific use. And then it's also tough because we call out kennels and these types of facilities in our ordinance in rural ag, but that's it. We don't call them out anywhere else in our ordinance. So,
Do we have anything in our ordinance about kennel licenses? Because I know if I get one more dog, I'd have to have them.
nothing, no. Kennels are mentioned exactly one time and one time only. This type of use is not seen outside of the rural ag district. It should be, obviously, but it's not in our ordinance in its current iteration. So,
It stands to reason, to me, that if a regular citizen in town has more than 3 dogs, they need a kennel license. And I'm sure she wants to have more than 3 dogs in her.
But we don't require that, right? The town doesn't require that.
It does if you're a private citizen.
This town does, Swanzey
If I
does?
had got one more dog in my house, I am supposed to have a kennel license. I know because when I raised black and tans and shepherds at the same time, I had several dogs at all the time. And I was required to have a kennel license.
I don't know if this applies here or not.
That's a state law, by the way.
We do have a use, the dog training facility over here in the business zone in North
Right.
Swansea.
Yeah.
And we have a doggy daycare over in the business zone in West Swansea.
I was meaning to ask about that because in the ordinance iteration, when that was approved, that also wasn't a use. How did that get approved at the
It
time?
would have been a service
That was-
establishment.
A service establishment, okay.
It would have been.
So it is precedent at least.
There is one
Yeah.
there, and that's not really a daycare center, but the training thing still has
But
dogs and things in it.
it's all interior, all
It is,
inside.
yeah, yeah, getting back to this one here, probably,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, as far as the location, it's really not a bad location. It's, as the crow flies, approximately about 350 feet from Clearwater Pool. It's about 350 feet from across Route 12 and the rail trail there to James Road, where there are some residents. But it's far enough away, I would think, and you have traffic going as well. It's about 600 feet from Page Homestead, and about 250 feet from Pete's Garage, or what used to be Pete's Garage. So,
That is
and it's
pretty
kind of
close to
down
the
in the
village.
hole a little bit. So as far as location and the sound, I think it's not a bad location. It's whether or not it is service establishment. We can classify it as that. And
Well, there are two issues. One of them is whether we think it's a service establishment. The other one is it a similar use to what was there?
it's not
Because
similar though.
That's
not
what,
a similar
that's what the tenant new tenant application means if it's a similar use, you don't have to go through site plan, but if it's not a similar use, you
It's
do.
clearly not a similar use.
So, again, are we in agreement about the service part of it there, the use being is there? Otherwise, she has to go to a variance, and there's no reason, in my mind anyway, we should have to do
No,
that
I
now.
don't think it needs a variance.
Yeah,
Think it needs a site plan.
but the site plan, yeah, and it doesn't have to be an engineered site plan, it has to
No.
be a site plan of what it is, and probably the brothers would do that, I would imagine, it's their building.
I'd
Yeah,
imagine,
brothers,
yeah.
yeah.
I've had some communication with Daniel Lang, who works at the Brothers, and certainly wasn't thrilled with the
Yeah.
possibility, but I think
It's,
he understands.
it's how it's stated in our application, that the new tenant has to be similar to the one that was already there.
It is explicitly stated, so.
Yeah, so we have to send you back and bring back a site plan with it. And then, like I said, it doesn't have to be a full-blown engineered site plan or that, but it has to be a site plan clearly showing the use, where it's going to be in the building, parking, things like that on the building. Adam can help you with that, or help them with that, whoever does it. And then you'd be back in front of us for the public hearing.
Yeah,
Slight delay, but.
I would also show the fencing, how you're gonna have it, and the size of the fencing and all that.
Okay.
So I'll get with you and Daniel, I'll tag you both on an email, I'll follow up with a phone call on next steps and timeline
Okay.
on how that looks, okay?
Okay.
I would say this probably delays until at least March 12th. At least, depends on when you guys can get the site plan made, and how long that takes.
Okay.
So I'll keep you posted, I'll send you out an email tonight about some processes and how that works. And if you have any questions, just give me a call or send me an email.
Okay.
Can I ask a question before we leave? So the building is for sale. Are you in line to buy the building?
Right now I'm leasing it because I am in the middle of a divorce right now. So I'm waiting until that is finalized to
Okay.
buy.
The reason I'm asking is I'm just wondering how permanent your occupation is going to be there, because if you are just leasing it, is he likely to sell it, and then this will be a very short-term location for you? I'm just trying to get a sense of the bigger picture here. And you don't have to answer that, but that's what I'm wondering.
No,
okay?
that's okay. My hope is long-term.
Okay, so then it makes sense, I think, to put the energy into a site plan. And when you say small-scale dog boarding, just so I have a picture, what is that, bigger than a bread box? What does that mean?
So for me, that means during a busy time, probably no more than 20 dogs occupying the space.
I don't have a sense what that means. Okay, and just so you know, I totally agree with Mark in terms of the location. I think it makes,
It
there's a
sounds
kennel
fine.
that's like
It sounds fine.
2 miles from my house, and I really hear it. But this is a location where I
It's a
don't
great
think you
spot.
would. You really
Yeah.
wouldn't. And it's got great access to.
So what's the distinction between short-term boarding versus a kennel? I mean, that's another thing to consider, because at the point this becomes a kennel, if ever, that's a different category.
It's not defined anywhere.
It isn't, no, defined anywhere. If the consensus of the board is that this is a service establishment, then we stop right there, if that's our consensus. I think it is.
It is.
Shall I call the board, or, are you in
No, yeah,
agreement?
I'm
You
good
are?
with that.
Yeah, I'm
You are,
in
Mark?
agreement
I
with
can
that
read the
as well.
definition.
You are? Okay, then that's consensus of the board, so that's not an issue, but site plan is an issue. It doesn't have to be a huge site plan, and I would hope that you would help her out with the application fee, because,
No,
you're gonna waive that?
no, probably not. I
No.
mean, yeah, we don't have historically waive application fees for something that needs to be done. But
No, I mean the one that she came in with tonight. I mean, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, we'll chat after, probably tomorrow. If that works.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one question just between, on something like that, is there a regulation in the town that by a certain time in the day, the dogs have to be inside?
No, but they have to be quiet.
Yeah, so you're going to put them outside and try and be quiet? No. The reason I say that too, the page facility is lower
Yeah,
than what that
that's true.
compound is going to be. Sound, and it's going to probably be to the back, which is down the page side, and so that sound will carry.
So we aren't going to discuss that application, she's gone now, but put that down in your notes, that can be some sort of a condition.
Yeah, I'm still concerned about the
Okay.
fencing.
So just make yourself a note in case we forget about that.
And she will still need a new tenant, even after a new site plan is done. She'll still need a new tenant.
You're right about that.
So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna cast a check until we actually process it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's worth it to refund and then have to ask it again. Yeah.
Because, the site plan.
I won't charge her twice, though. I will not do that.
Good. Okay,
So just to Richard's point, it is pretty wooded between that facility and
It
Page
is.
Homestead.
well, again, we'll be discussing that during the public hearing. We can't really do too much. Finalize the rules of procedure. And we have the rules of procedure here, and we have the changes in there, minor changes, actually. We didn't do too many changes on that. And, I don't know, did everyone get a chance to make sure that Adam put everything in there that we were supposed to?
It looked pretty complete.
Yeah, it looked fine to me, but what the board says about that.
Under meetings,
Yep,
we have in here the second and fourth Thursday, but and I can't recall, do we specify differences for November, December? How did we finally decide on that?
I got vetoed.
I thought we left ourselves the option so that we can either cancel those meetings or change them to a different date when the time gets closer. We've canceled the meetings before when there wasn't any.
Yeah, with nothing on there, yeah, we have.
You know,
No sense to have them.
Right, but in the past, it was always the Thursday just before the holiday. And if we, in November,
So
if we go
Thanksgiving
the
Day's
first
gonna,
and third, and December 1st and 3rd, then you have time in between.
But I think we discussed it last time. We decided just to leave it as it is, and as the time approached, we would just
Yeah.
decide what we're gonna do.
yeah, because he'll know ahead of
Change
time
it again.
if
I
we
mean,
need
we
it.
can change it now if you want. I don't hear any changes, so we can just leave it as it is.
And for applications, there's what, 4-week lead time?
Yeah, we can, here with the,
If it's 2 weeks,
And he'll know what's coming down the pipe
Yeah,
anyway.
definitely so.
And if something comes in that last week, but there's only a week left, he can schedule for that first week in
yeah,
December.
for December, the last one is November 24th, to bring something
Yeah,
in.
it's always gonna be Thanksgiving Day for the
Yeah.
last one.
In November, it'll be October 29th. So the last meeting in November.
You know, the first and the third week works, those 2 months. And I think it's also good to have it defined for our own personal planning, which is maybe another point to bring up.
It's been the second and third the past 2 years. Because we've been doing back-to-back, 2024 and 2025. We did
I
back-to-back
think
on
I
Thursday.
thought we did the first and the third.
And you'll know in time if we really need to hold a meeting anyway.
Yeah, right.
It's nice to have the flexibility.
It is.
Yeah.
We're going to do what we have to do, so I'm indifferent either way, but
So then let's just leave it at that. We have the flexibility to change it as the year progresses.
so do we want to go through, what are we looking at here?
We're just looking at the changes that were put in there, and that was for, the one under meetings was number 4 under meetings. We had number 4 under meetings. And we had,
Do we want to go through this in order? I mean, we don't have to recite everything, but at least,
oh, we can go through the whole ordinance if you want. I think we did the last time though, didn't we?
yeah.
Mark, you're in the wrong area.
And we had, under public hearings, we crossed out members of the board may ask questions at any point, and we put down, except for very short and necessary clarifying remarks, members should wait until the applicant finishes their presentation before asking questions. Place it with that. What's the other one there? I've gone right by it.
All right, no comments on this, I'm ready to sign it.
And we had under number 3, our organization, on number 3, we crossed out including alternate members. We're talking about members serving on other boards. number 3 under organization. So, are we good? Was that a motion you made, Mark? To approve it?
I'll make a motion to approve this as written.
Okay, we will, a motion to approve our rules of procedures as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Richard. He beat you. Seconded by Richard. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, good.
Just to sign?
2 minutes.
Do it right, yeah.
2 minutes and sign, everybody
then-
has sign.
Yeah, we can just have signatures and then put the date in there. Charlie, see, yeah.
She's got signs here, so nobody can ever say that's a legal signature.
And could you just give us a copy of that? Everyone, I'd like a copy.
Yeah, a copy of the signed one, yeah.
I'll scan it when I get back to the office.
Okay, thanks.
Early received prints.
Okay.
Sign away.
You've just signed up for 25 years.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Lifer.
That means I have to live that long.
Join the club.
So, Adams,
I'll get any more dogs. I mean, in the doghouse myself.
the reason why the alternates don't sign it, because, I mean, they could be seated.
Funny thing is, the wife is the one that said she wanted this stuff.
I think everybody should sign it myself.
But yeah, he's taking me as his own. Oh. He's mad at her. She's every time we get a dog, it always likes you best.
Stacy, you want to sign it?
Donkey's like her best.
What do you think, Chair?
Alternates don't sign it unless they're seated, from what I,
Yeah,
But
unless
it's
it's sitting in on the board.
if you're if you're seated officially, then you sign it. If you don't, then you don't.
Yeah.
So you
can't
don't
be
have to
held
abide by
responsible.
it.
No, he's the only one who won't be taken to court.
I didn't do it. That's their fault.
So, we're moving on to site plan review regulations. Okay, and we're still discussing that. And let's figure out everybody have a copy of the regulations with them? Or
Oh, probably
it's
somewhere.
a little bit easier to understand if we do get a copy of them out, I think. Just to go through them here, what we're doing. Let's see.
So what is it you're looking for? Scott, I'm sorry, what is it you're looking for?
Oh, your site plan review regulations, and we're going to page, let's see, page 11, I think we start off with. And page 11 has the, it's actually, it would be section 7, yeah, and item number 6, or amendment number 6 on there, that says approval. So, we have 2 different, or actually 3 different types of approvals that the board gives, and it's good for us to remember and to differentiate between them all. We have a regular approval, which is approval with no conditions at all. Then we have a approval with conditions, which means that those conditions have to be put onto the plat, and we have to have a public hearing to approve those conditions, to make sure that they comply. And there's a conditional approval, a third one, which is a conditional approval is where we approve a plat that needs something like a permit or a state permit or any of those types of things that are administrative in nature only, and they do not have to have a compliance hearing. So there are 3 types of approvals there that we need to remember and keep an eye on, and I think we ought to probably mention something about that in our regulations, so, just so that we know it and that anybody else going by these regulations knows it. So, what I'm suggesting is, under number 6, approval, labeling the A, which we have there, approval with conditions, let's see. So, if we keep that same paragraph, right, and label it approval with conditions, and then it would go on to say, like it says, the planning board may attach such conditions to the approval of the application as it deems reasonable and necessary to ensure that the proposed use will be consistent with the purpose and intent of these regulations. Bonding may be required to ensure the completion of utilities and other amenities. And we can also add underneath that, a public compliance hearing will be required within 1 year after the date upon which the board voted to approve with conditions. Otherwise, the approval is null and void. All conditions shall be recorded on the site plan prior to the compliance hearing. So that covers the conditions, that covers what happens if you do not comply with it within a year. It states within a year. If you don't meet those conditions within the year for that public hearing, for the compliance hearing, then your application is null and void. It used to say in there, I think we had within a year, you had to meet it, but it didn't say what had happened to you if you didn't meet it. So if you're taking to court on something like that, and they say, well, there's nothing going to happen here, so nothing's going to happen to them anyway. So that's why I added that in there. I'm just suggesting this. So I can read it over again. I know this is real confusing stuff. I know it's confusing to us, confusing to the applicants.
Well, I think what's important is make sure the terminology is clear, so when you refer back to the actual board approval, and I'm just using this as a general statement, that it's clear that it was the date it was approved by the board and not any other approval along the way.
Yeah, and that we're saying that they have a year to come up with or fix those conditions and put them on the plat and have a public hearing to the board. They can't string it out for the 2 years that they have to complete the project or to complete substantial improvement to the property.
Scott, in your preamble, you very sequentially, you listed 3 different kinds of approvals that
Yeah.
you make. Would there be a problem in actually listing those 3 at the beginning and then expanding on them as using the
I'm
words
getting
used?
down
You're
to
gonna
that.
do that?
'Cause, yeah, I
Okay.
think we do need to pull them out and list them because they're complicated in nature. You don't really think about it, and they sound the same, but they mean different things. Approval with conditions, and then conditional approval, and then you have just the regular approval with no conditions at all.
Are you changing the title with number 6?
Actually,
You
no.
I think you,
Number 6 is under approval. I know
Yeah.
that's why I had to get out your notebook. Number 6 is in.
didn't you say with conditions? Is that what you're titling it?
Just approvals, and then when it comes to number A, letter
Yeah.
A, then we would have that maybe in bold that says approval with conditions and a colon there, semicolon, describing what it is. Approval with conditions, then it would read, the planning board may attach such conditions to the approval of the application as it deems reasonable and necessary to ensure that the proposed use will be consistent with the purpose and intent of these regulations. Bonding may be required to ensure that the completion of utilities and other amenities of the completion of those. But it's talking about conditions there anyways. So it tells you on the approval with conditions that they may attach conditions to that site plan, which you have to put on the site plan and prove that you've done it at a compliance hearing. So that's what that means, and that's what the second part means, which I wrote in there. It says, let's see, a public compliance hearing, because we had that further down in here we're talking about. I just moved it up to here because it has to do with these conditions. So I just moved it up to here, and again, it says, a public compliance hearing will be required within 1 year after the date upon which the board used to approve the conditions. Otherwise, the approval is null and void. All conditions shall be recorded on the site plan prior to the compliance hearing. So that would cover conditions that we require a public hearing for, and it would lay out what that is under that name of approval with conditions. And then we have B, with there was no change to it. We left that in there, so no substantial deviation from the plans or as approved by the board. We left that alone.
Okay, after your semicolon, come down a line, Roman numeral 1, and then state what you just said.
Okay, you're saying that there'll be another category there, another,
No, not a category, just you're saying approval, and then you came down to A, and you made a statement, and you said semicolon.
yeah, I said approvals, yeah, like, we'll say it's in bold letters. It doesn't have to, it can be laid out however it is. It's just got to differentiate that it's a thing, approval with conditions, and then separate it from the
Okay,
definition of it.
Period, A, or excuse me, Roman numeral 1
It can,
underneath.
yeah, it can be set up like that. I don't know, Adam would probably know better setting it up if it should be set up like that or not.
Yeah, I gotta read it.
Yeah, I've got it kind of penciled in and sort of not penciled in. You know, I
Yeah,
can give
once
those
we
to
have
you.
the next draft,
Yeah.
we'll know better how.
Yeah, then we'll see it, yeah, like Richard's saying, yeah, if it's set up like that, it'll be easier to understand what
Yeah.
we're talking about.
Yeah, I
Right.
think he's right.
Yeah, it is. So, it comes down to B, which we didn't change, that's about the substantial or no substantial deviation, of course. And then we get to C, and we're replacing pretty much all of that C because of it was, Adam reworded it, and it's more in kind to what we're doing. So, and it starts off, let me get my other paper out here, because I just went back and forth. Yeah, it's the one that says, the site plan approval will expire after a period of 2 years, and I added some in here. Anyways, here we go. Site plan approval will expire after a period of 2 years following the date on which the in which the planning board votes to approve, comma, approve with conditions, or votes to grant a conditional approval. Within this 2-year period, it comes down to say, and I will continue on that, but I'm going back up to that. That's where the other two approvals come in. One is votes to just approve, and then there's a comma, and the other one votes to approve with conditions, which we just went through, and the third one is to grant a conditional approval, which we're getting to later on under conditional approvals on number 7. So, anyways, and then it goes on to say, as we have here, within this 2-year period, active and substantial development must occur. The site plans approved in phases. A determination of active and substantial development shall apply to the phase currently under approval, which is good in there. If a bond or other security is required in connection with such approval, such bond or security must be posted. Active and substantial development shall include one or more of the following. And then we have the lists that Adam gave us last time about that. And I just have a little bit on it. It says one or more of the following, and then we get right to I, and it says site preparation activities including movement of earth, excavation, clearing, or logging when conducted in conjunction with and in furtherance of the approved development. This item alone shall not constitute active and substantial development. But just before that, we said one or more of the following. And then we tell you in the very first one that this one can't be done with one. So we can just change that wording around a little bit. And I have a suggestion there. I'll read through it again. Site preparation activities, including movement of earth, excavation, clearing, or logging, and, because we have on number, the erosion control measures when conducted in conjunction with and in furtherance of the approved development. So if we add from the double I below it, which says that can be alone the installation and maintenance of erosion control, but the one above it can't be alone. So if we move that one up and put it in conjunction with the top one, that I, we can combine those. So it just says site preparation activities, including movement of earth, excavation, clearing or logging, and erosion control measures, because those would go along with the site preparation part of it. Because if you're digging up that land, you're going to put that erosion control in there. So that could be one of the conditions of substantial improvement to the property. And it would cross out that, it would combine that one underneath it, the double I underneath it.
So combine I and double I.
Yeah, I and double I together and use that as one, and we would, on the top, we would cross out one or more of the, you would use one or more of the following, but I mean, we would have the one crossed out that says item alone shall not,
So,
because we'd combine it.
I'm sorry, when I read through this, and I think we're thinking the same way, but I took a different tact. So for C, active and substantial development shall include one or more of the following as defined by the planning board was one of the suggestions that I came up. So we would have the opportunity to define these 4 items, which ones are important for this particular project. Or maybe it should say shall include all of the following unless noted by the planning board, right? So now we're looking at it, creating which ones could be exceptions.
I don't know, yeah, I like the way Adam had it, giving them the choice, because there's sometimes, depending on what the project is, they're gonna be doing some things maybe before other things. All projects aren't the same.
Exactly,
And, you know,
exactly.
And we aren't, I don't think at the meeting, we can, at the meeting, or at the hearing, say that, okay, for this piece, you have to do number I, 3I, and 4I.
So you're
to be
thinking that we don't have enough information to make a
We don't to put it down here to hold them to it, or to hold us to it.
Right.
We can at the public hearing, if it's a different site or site plan, that we say, well, you know, somebody else already did this site preparation with the fences, erosion fences up, you guys didn't do it, so, you know, you guys do a little bit more
Right.
to be on there, you know. We need flexibility somewhat.
Is erosion control mandated by state?
It is, yeah.
So that's not an option for them.
Well, yeah, but we aren't giving the option of whether to do it or not. We're giving them the option of if they've done that, we can say, okay, you've done substantial development to the property, and you've satisfied the 2-year requirement, so you can go ahead with your project, is what we're saying.
If it's a requirement, how is, then they have to do that, and they can put up that black fence all the way around.
Yeah.
What does that, to me, that's not substantial at all.
No, that's why it's
That's
added
part
into,
of the substantial.
that's why it's added into site preparation
Right.
activities, including
But you-
movement of earth.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's why it's tied into that, site preparations and activities, including movement of earth, excavation, clearing, or logging, and erosion control measures, and not erosion control measures by itself.
Yeah,
But
that
I
would-
see what you're saying there.
That would only be a small part of it.
But again, the fact that it's required shouldn't have anything to do with whether they've done the substantial development or improvements to the
Right.
property. It's just that they've done it, and they've proved that, yes, they're serious about it, and they're gonna go ahead and probably complete the project.
Can I ask more of a global question? I'm just trying, for some reason, this is feeling logically confusing to me, but, so the site prep, you can't do anything until you do all that site prep stuff, and you have to do the erosion control measures, so that's gonna happen no matter what. So that's almost like a given. And are we saying that in some instances, that will be enough for us to say that it has been substantial?
That's what we're saying.
A substantial start?
Yeah.
And then, but in some instances, we're gonna say, you know, of course you've done all that because you can't do anything until you've done it now. But you should also have done drainage improvements and/or you should also have done roads, right? Is that basically what we're saying?
And we're giving them the option, but just for instance, someone may have started a project somewhere, and they did this. They did the clearing, they did the excavation around there. Maybe didn't put a road in there, but they might have put up the silt fence and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then they sold it to somebody else, and they came with a new site plan. We aren't gonna let them come in, well, we probably shouldn't say, well, this is all done, so we've got the 2-year thing, fine. We're gonna say, that's already done, so you guys have to do this, this, and this
Okay,
to be
that
substantial
helps.
about it.
That really helps, because I'm thinking, I mean,
Yeah,
you gotta smooth it out first, right, no matter what,
yeah,
so.
you do.
Okay, but this is a what if the property gets sold in that state.
That could
would be an
happen,
instance.
you know, lots of things could happen, nothing's the same. So, you know, the
But
planning board,
practically, in terms of how we do our business, do you think we're frequently gonna be satisfied with them just having done the grading and the smoothing and the logging and, you know, making it ready for putting in drainage or roads?
well, if it's like a 1-acre lot, maybe not. And the planning board will know that at the time. And we'll say, well, you might have to add a few more things. But if it's a huge, you know, large area, several acres, then that's a lot of
Okay, so
money.
it's a matter of scale. Okay.
That's a lot of investment that they have.
So we're setting it up where we have that option at the point of approval.
We do, it says one or more.
Right.
At the planning board's discretion, you could add that in.
I think at the planning board's discretion.
How about the end of one or more at the planning board's discretion then?
Or as defined by the planning board, either way.
Okay.
It's meaning the same thing. I think that's what's
Yeah.
missing.
We
All
need
right.
to say that we're the
Planning
ones
board's
who
discretion.
decide, yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't want somebody to come in and say, well, here, it says shall include one or more, and we did this one.
So one or more of the following, comma, at the planning board's discretion?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's good.
And okay?
Yeah.
Adam?
Yep, that should be fine.
Okay. Okay, so
So,
I and double I were combined.
okay. Before we go off C, I want to come back to it.
Yeah, we're still on, we're gonna be on C for a little bit here.
Okay.
So we have that 3I was construction and completion of drainage improvements to service to service a development in accordance with the approved plans. So I've got that crossed out, and because it comes back later on in it. So let's just skip over that one and go to number 4. And it says construction and/or installation of, I think, roadways or access ways constructed to at least gravel base. Yeah, and then I added to that, building foundations, slabs or footings. And the reason I changed that around is because we have on 5, on the next page, number 5, this is another criteria they could have met, which says construction and/or installation of basic infrastructure intended to support the development in accordance with the approved plans, such as building foundations or footings. So, infrastructure, infra means below. Infrastructure generally means below grade. We're talking about drainage, talking about utilities, sewer lines, water lines and that stuff there. So that's why I moved building foundations or footings and slabs to number 4. And I just modified this one here, construction and/or installation of basic infrastructure intended to support the development in accordance with the approved plans such as drainage and utilities. Those are the infrastructure things that we're calling. And I moved the buildings, foundations, and we ought to include slabs in there also, because not everyone has a cellar or anything, and/or footings into number 4. So I'll read number 4 over again. I know this is confusing stuff. And
It's not confusing, but is it, that to me feels like a whole other step up.
what's that? Which one?
To put in a foundation or footings compared
is.
to just building roadways.
It is, but what if they purchase a property that was already set for them to go in there and put up the footings and foundations? Again, we get back to that.
Okay.
That would be their claim that they did substantial development because, yeah, it was already prepared for them, the lot was, and they came in and put the footings, slab, foundations, or whatever, within that 2-year period. We're gonna say, okay, that's okay, that's one of the things that you need to do. If they had to prepare the site, they might not get to that. But if they bought the site prepared, industrial park or something like that, it was laid out, it was all set for them, and they just had to come in, they didn't want to start with drainage, they wanted to start with the footings and foundations to get done before freezing or something.
Okay, that makes it work.
Things like
Okay,
that.
Yep.
At the discretion of the planning board.
What's
Yeah.
that?
I said, at the discretion
At
of
the
the
discretion.
planning board.
No, I just-
Each one will be different, as it always is, the site plans. There's always something different in the site plans.
That's key.
It is, yeah. So, I'm gonna read number 4 again, because it's just modified a little bit. I added the buildings, foundations, et cetera. It says, construction and/or installation of roadways or access ways constructed to at least gravel base, buildings, foundations, slabs, or footings.
It's singular building, right? Building foundation or buildings plural?
I guess it could be either, couldn't it? I
I
don't
would
know.
think it'd be singular.
Singular.
Building foundations.
Building
Instead of
foundation.
building
Oh, yeah,
modules,
yeah, right,
foundation.
because foundation has the S
Yeah.
on it. Yeah.
And then we're moving utilities installed in underground conduit and prepared for future connection.
Bringing that to the
Below.
infrastructure one on number 5.
Yep.
So it'd be construction and, number 5, construction and/or installation of basic infrastructure intended to support the development in accordance with the approved plans, such as drainage and utilities, underground utilities, and so on and so forth, whatever else. you
Keeping
want.
Adam busy. He hasn't put his head up since, just typing away.
I think I'm getting all of it.
Yeah, because so in the site plan regs, as we look at them here in our book right now, we're going to replace that whole C, the whole C section there. So, what else do we have here? We're done with those. Now we're to D.
All right, so can I make a comment on C?
Yep.
All right, so, right now, we currently have 1 year. The proposal here is to go to 2 years. That didn't quite sit right. I thought we had a process that's working well. So I did go back and I looked at 2024 minutes from all of our meetings. There was 19 items that we approved. Nothing from any of the prior year or years came back asking for an extension. So we had no extensions requests in 2024. In 2025, there was actually, actually two, but on the same day, February 13th, we approved Pilgrim Pines Bathhouse, and at the point we approved it for 5 years. So that was different than asking for an extension. And that's something that the board has an option to do, and that was proven there, right? The other two were Asher Corporation, I think that's the property on Safford Drive, and Plainview Avenue. So we really don't have a history, at least in the 2 years that I looked, and I didn't go back further, where people are coming in and asking for extensions. So to me, it seems like the 1 year is working fine, and I'm not sure why we would go to 2 years. So if you want a motion, I'll make a motion that we keep this at 1 year based on the research and the facts that I've found.
If you're making a motion now, we can, if there's a second for your motion, otherwise we can discuss it without the motion, either way. Are you making the motion, or are you waiting until we discuss it?
I'll make a motion and we can discuss it.
Okay, motion by Mark to keep the 1 year plan, or actually it would be the 1 year
1 year approval from the point.
approval as it, yeah, keep the 1 year approval. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Richard. Now under further discussion. All right, I think the 2 year plan, I think we ought to at least try the 2 year plan, because I think, as Adam brought up one meeting ago, I don't know when it was, that it's a lot of preparation for some of these companies, maybe not the small ones, but for the large ones to come in here and, get everything all set, get their financing together, get their supply chain together, get the subcontractors together, and all that type of stuff within that 1 year period, and get their permits also within that 1 year period, and still make it. Now, they've come in for a site plan review, in my opinion. They've come in for a site plan review, so they aren't just doing that to pass the time. They're serious about setting up business here in Swansea. They want to succeed. We want them to succeed. And if that's the case, and none of them asked for an extension, and they all, didn't default on their site plan, they all went through, there's no harm I see on giving them 2 years, a little extended time, a little breathing room to get their finances together, to get their subcontractors together, and all of that type of thing to start the project.
Yeah, and I'll add into that. We sometimes give them conditions that we want, like extra fencing or a pitched roof. Well, that person has to go out, his cost is now changed, and I know we don't generally worry about cost, but we need to be fair too, that if you add $1 million, say, to the project to him, then he's got to go back. Once he knows where he's got to do that, and he agrees to do it, he's got to go back to his lender and say, I have to ask for another $1 million. I'm just using $1 million as a figure. So to Scott's point is, sometimes after we give him approval with conditions as he's agreed to, it may add enough cost where he has to go back to his lender to get the additional financing. So he has to have time for that, because when these big projects like that, it's not simply like going into your house and say, well, I need an extra $20,000. Yeah, you're good for it. It takes a lot more than that. Numbers have to roll, and the bank or the lender will not take it. It'll take its time to figure those things out if they're going to give that guy the extra money, or the developer.
And there was a project last year that was essentially killed because of this, Swanzey Solar Gardens. It was a solar project.
What was it?
So it was a solar project that was approved before I was hired at Swansea. Swanzey Solar Gardens.
Is that the one up on the hill?
Yeah, I think so. They applied for an extension, but they had passed they didn't do it in time, essentially, and they essentially let their site plan expire rather than coming in and reapplying for a site plan, because they felt that letting it expire was more advantageous to them, and I guess they went somewhere else. But that project would have still been, I think it still would have been planned if they hadn't have let their site plan expire because of funding. They lost funding for something, and they weren't able to improve the site in time. So that's one example. That's the only example since I've been here of a project not happening because our approval timeline isn't long enough.
But they could have come in for an approval, and they didn't, right?
They must have found something else I don't know where they went. But
That
I
wasn't
know,
because of our process. It
it was partly because they instead of reapplying for their site plan, because I think they had a couple zoning board applications as well, they decided to just walk away. Because they wanted to extend, but they were past their extension window, so they weren't able to.
The tension for me is that, an example is the apartments that are now next to the new fire station, okay? And I don't know what the truth of that situation is, but I'm gonna just pretend that what happened, well, let's just say what happens sometimes is that if you're a contractor and you have guys and you gotta keep the guys going and you have them off working on projects, and then you have a little bit of downtime and you've gotta, keep them busy, you send them, you bring them back to, the apartment building that you're building and have them work on that for a little while. And the thing just goes on and on and on for a really long time. I don't think that's what we want to have happen. But on the other side, there's funding, but there's also lining up contractors. And during good times, that can be really hard. Right now, it's not a great time. So maybe, I've kind of come full circle on this because right now, I think my original concern was that we're updating our zoning. We're doing this huge whole-scale revision, look through of our zoning. And that's going to happen this year, right?
You guys will have more details a couple meetings from now
Okay.
on that. I have a proposal.
Is the time frame to be
And-
end of this year, next year?
So for warrant article season 2027.
Okay.
So 2026 is the year that's, that SWRPC is going to be conducting that ordinance audit
Okay,
with collaboration between the planning board, me, and them.
okay, so 2 years.
You guys will see them in person in probably a couple months now, but yeah, 2027 warrant article, so the next warrant article will be possibly some of those changes, depending on what this body feels is right, so.
Okay, so no quick change
No
there,
quick change.
really.
We're not set up for quick changes.
Back to the motion.
Good question.
So,
But that's the context that I'm looking at
Yep.
this in, because I just don't want us to get locked into something that, when we look at the zoning, we'll go, whoa, we really should change that. And then we've
Yeah.
got a site plan that's tied into zoning that we don't think is so great.
Understood. Yep, that makes sense.
so back to the motion.
Do we have the discretion, I think this may have been brought up before, but even in a 1 year, to apply for an extension, does the board have the discretion to extend that if we felt that it was necessary to a 2 year? Or does it have to stay just at 1?
It has to stay at 1 because it mentions that it's 1 year.
Okay, so we don't
So-
have that discretion.
We can change it and have that discretion if we want
It's
to.
a good thought.
Pardon me?
It's a good thought, actually.
Yeah.
If 2 year approval period doesn't sit right with the board, maybe keep it at 1 year, but have the option for 2 separate extension periods.
Yeah, maybe, I think we ought to try the 2 year. We haven't tried the 2 year before, and another reason for that is that we're not trying to stand in the way of business in Swansea. We need business in Swansea here to come in, and we've got some places around town that they could come into. So, we want to make it look as good as possible for them. We aren't giving them any special advantage, anything, but if they see that they have 2 years to get their ducks in a row, to get everything going there, it might look a little bit better than another town that might give them just 1 year to do that. And that might be another thing that they'd come to Swansea. And we haven't had too many projects default anyway that haven't gone through. They've all been, put their money to the site plan review, which is a lot of money, hiring their engineers, architects, whatever they have, coming to
There's
the
only
board.
2 of them that I can think of. Base Hill Road is that must be expired by now. And then the solar.
Well, they were held up not because of
No,
us, they're held up because of something else. So
Yeah.
the motion on the floor is to keep it the same with 1 year or give it the 2 year extension. Is there any further discussion on that? Then all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
All right.
In favor of which?
Okay,
Oh.
I'm going to pull Are you in
I'd
favor
like
of,
to keep it at 1 year.
are you in favor?
1 year.
Favor of 1 year?
Yes.
Yes, Victoria, favor of 1 year?
Yep.
Favor of 1 year?
No.
Favor of 1 year? Favor of 1 year? Yes. Okay, I'm not in favor of 1 year.
I missed
You.
Richard's.
Okay, it was Charlie was in favor of 1 year, and Richard was, and Mark was, and Victoria was. And Michael York and I were in favor of the 2 year. So the motion passes, we're keeping it at 1 year. So, let's get back to the suggestion of, I think it was your suggestion that we could give them an option of 2 years. Do we want to do that, or just leave it
Right now,
alone?
they have an option of 1 year, right?
One time, 1 year.
One time, 1 year, we already have that, right, yeah, one time, 1 year.
So do we want to make it a 2-year option, or do we make it a 1 year and then have to come back in again after that if they can't get their ducks together?
It's gonna be confusing for us.
Do we want a
and
total
the
of 2
applicants.
years or 3 years? That's the question.
I think we gotta do 1 year
Leave it at,
increments.
I think we should leave it at 1 year, since
Yeah.
the vote was for 1 year, let's leave it at 1 year.
Okay.
And continue with everything else. It's worked fine for us so far, so we'll
Okay.
leave it at that.
And I think if they come back for a second extension, the bar's gotta be pretty high at that point, right?
You guys just don't have the option to do it.
No, we can't do it.
You guys can't do it.
Yeah.
The way it's written
just
now.
1 year.
It is a one-time,
It's
1
1
year.
year.
Right.
Right.
1 year,
Yeah.
yeah.
At the end of that, though,
That's why it makes sense to.
once that expires, they can come in and reapply from
With a new
scratch.
Right, from
Correct.
scratch.
They can, with the same exact site plan, actually. If it's denied, they can't. If it isn't denied, they can.
Yes,
Yeah.
so if, with our extension, if it still hasn't happened, or they still haven't gotten everything together, and their plat expires, then they can come back in and resubmit everything.
Start from scratch. Yep, that's what they would do.
Should we waive the resubmission cost on something like that? If it's the same thing?
It's still the same amount of money those guys are,
We're still reviewing it.
yeah, doing, still got to pay the employees to look at all that stuff, and engineers reviewing stuff, so. And it's a good idea. I might be in favor of it perhaps, but I don't know, we still have the expenses that we have to cover.
You're gonna get pushed back from the select board, I think.
When Hines came and we gave them 5 years.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was because it was a long-range plan. We've approved things in stages before, which we mentioned, Adam had it mentioned in these things, and it was something like that. You know, they knew what they were gonna do. We've been approving a site plan for a long time.
You would call it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically, but it wasn't at that. It was just given the 5 year instead of the
Yeah.
phase thing. It was a phase, so.
Yeah, you guys did that under the provision that you guys can waive any section of, I guess if you can waive any section of the site plan review regulations, I guess you could waive the extension.
The 2 year thing there?
Yeah, I guess.
We could, let's leave it alone.
That's a longer conversation.
Yeah. Let's leave it alone. That brings us to, let's see, we're on D, which it says the approval becomes effective when 3 copies of the site plan are signed by the chair of the planning board. No site plan shall be signed until all conditions relative to the approval are placed on the plat. The board receives final unconditional approval from the fire department, and the plan is signed by a registered engineer or surveyor. So that's always gotten me in our regulations here, that it says become effective, or this is approval or that approval. It's odd because we've already approved the thing. They've got their approval. Now, whether it's effective or not is kind of, I don't know. It has to be signed, and when it's registered up the registry of deeds. But we do, need to keep them, to let them know that everything has to be taken care of. Let's see, like the 3 copies, the chairman has to sign that, and they have to meet the fire department approval at the end of it. So I'd suggest replacing the approval becomes effective with this. It says no certificate of occupancy shall be issued until 3 copies of the site plan are signed by the chair of the planning board, on and on as it goes, the rest of the paragraph. Something like that rather than effective.
Can I ask a historical question?
Yeah.
What's the point of 3 copies?
I don't know, it was for It's been always that, and I think it was just so that we'd have 2 copies here and one, no, Mylar, I guess, went up to the Registry of Deeds.
Yeah.
I don't think the whole set went up there, but we kept several copies in Town Hall for review.
Wonder why?
That's all it was. And it doesn't have to be there, there's no real rule that it has to be like that.
I think we've only kept one signed copy
Recently, yeah.
for the past 4 or 5 years.
And we used to, like, we had tons of drawings there of all these copy after copy of these site plans, which just hung around Town Hall, and they ended up getting thrown out.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we need to have that 3 copies there either.
Well, we should
Just the
only need
Mylar.
one for the office and
Be
one
the
for
Mylar,
the
right?
register. One for the register and one for the town office is probably what we should need.
I mean, the register is really only for boundary line changes. They don't typically print Mylars for site plans,
Well, we aren't registering the site plan Mylars up there?
not unless it's needed from a legal standpoint.
Oh, I didn't
But
know.
they are going, a signed copy is going to the property file.
Yeah.
So the only thing that's getting sent to the Registry of Deeds, right now at least, is boundary line changes for
Okay, so we don't have
tax
to do
map
that.
updates and stuff.
So we could change that to 2 copies, because we probably have to have at least 2 copies of Town Hall in case something happens to one of them, for a while anyway.
We just don't need 3 anymore.
No,
'Cause
you want to have
we-
it 2?
We always have a digital copy, and then two's fine, yeah.
We can change that number to 2, so.
Save a few trees.
And what about the effective part of it? It just, you don't know what effective is. I mean, what does it mean? Yeah, the chairman signed the thing there, but it's not, it's effective because it's already effective. It's been approved.
I think this is
That was
what-
the point I was going to bring up, I'm sorry. Once we've approved it, that's when the clock starts, correct?
Right.
Not when this gets signed.
Right.
That is
And
correct.
And we came
Yeah.
into, we had a problem with this past year, I
We
believe.
did, we changed that though, yeah, we fixed that in the
Yeah.
regulations.
Yeah, it is
But
when
you're
it's
right.
signed. Voted
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, once it's approved.
Right.
But the plat gets signed after everything is there, after all the permits have been obtained, and after the as-built or whatever they're gonna do to bring into the planning department with changes on the drawing. So it has to be signed, like we do anyways, there. And they have to know that it's gotta be signed in order for them to get something like a CO.
So, once it's signed, does that mean they can commence work? Or has
No,
work
they can
already-
commence work right after we approve
Right
it.
after we approve
I-
it?
But they might not be able to get a CO if they've been dragging their feet to bring in the as-built plans or something that
Okay.
Adam asked them for, or a permit or something like that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that line is what tripped up the Avon Route projects.
Well, it did in conjunction with the letters that went out.
The letters,
Yeah.
okay.
It was, yeah.
So I think if that language wasn't
I
in
wonder
there.
if their
it would
financing
maybe-
would be tied to the signing of the plats too.
So, I mean, I read that too, and I added, you
If I'm
know,
a banker, I want the signed plat before
I added at the end of the first sentence, this action has no impact on the site plan approved period, approval period. Just trying to provide some clarity. Now, I like what you said, you know, about the CO, but it's just, there's some words in there that just need to get removed.
Yeah, it's old, it's definitely old. So right now, I have it as no certificate of occupancy shall be issued until 2 copies of the site plan are signed by the chair of the planning board. And then, Mark, what was your addition?
I just said this action has no impact on the site plan approval period, meaning, you know, from the day that we approved it. But
I don't think we need to.
that could be confusing in itself.
It is. We've spelled it out when their time starts, and it's the day after our approval.
Okay.
It's spelled out right
So
in there.
read that again, no CO.
No certificate of occupancy shall be issued until 2 copies of the site plan are
Okay.
signed by the chair of the planning
See,
board.
I like that because it gets rid of that approval and gets rid of the effective. And those are the 2 words that,
Yeah, that's always bugged me in there too,
Yeah.
so that's why I'm
And
suggesting.
it has caused problems in the past, so.
Yeah, and that other, we had another line in there that caused problems too, which we got rid of already. So, we in agreement with that? Just let that stand as that, no CO?
Yeah.
Okay, that brings us to E, which says 30 days prior to the expiration of approval, any applicant may request, and I've changed this around a little bit just because the wording, I added from the planning board right there. So anyways, I'm gonna 30 days prior to the expiration of approval, an applicant may request from the planning board a one-time extension of 1 year for meeting active and substantial development. The applicant, and that's what we had from the planning board. I just took that out. I put planning board, I don't know, it felt more comfortable to read that way. I don't know what anybody else thinks. I'll
I'd
just put
agree.
that in there. And then everything stays the same, then it says the applicant shall demonstrate the necessary of the extension and provide an update to the board about the status of the project, which is what we would want.
So how about, instead of starting off with 30 days prior, we say a minimum of 30 days prior?
Yeah, could put that, because, well, we don't want them, well, I don't know, do we want them coming for an extension prior to that, like, say, 6 months before that?
Yeah, we have before. I mean,
Avonru did.
I think if they
on,
know, then it's good to have it early.
Yeah, did 4 months.
So you think that we should have it, what would
Well,
you,
unless we,
what's your suggestion?
unless we give it a period, say a minimum of 30 days, a maximum of 90 days?
Or-
You want a
Or
window?
just leave
Create
it
a
the
window.
minimum, the first thing you said was the minimum,
A
leave it
minimum of
that?
30 days prior.
Minimum of 30 days prior.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that reads fine.
Everybody?
If you think you want a window, then you
Yeah.
add a maximum of 90.
No, we'll leave it at that.
If they
The
know a
minimum.
year in advance, then great. I mean, they know, come in, tell
Yeah.
us why.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
They can get their approval, and the next
Yeah.
meeting, they can ask for their extension.
Does the time of
Make
the
it 2 years.
extension, if the time they come in and ask for that extension, you're saying a year before or 6 months before, does that extension start at that point or at the point of when it would expire?
no, it would,
I'm just
Come from the conversation.
It'd
pointing
have
that
to-
out there so to define it.
it'd be expiration.
You know
I
the
mean, it's
answer.
implied in here, you know that, it would be expiration, yep. Because it says it right in here. The expiration of approval, it talks about that. So it would be a minimum of 30 days prior to the expiration of approval. Applicant may request from the planning board, a one-time extension of the 1 year for meeting the active and substantial development. Okay. We moving on from that one, I think?
I have nothing else.
Okay. And then we have, we didn't change that cost of engineering, legal fees and that stuff. We didn't change we had under conditional approval, and that's where we start defining what a conditional approval is, and so we leave that one there, number 7. And we didn't change pursuant to RSA 676. That's the same. Let's see. No change to that. Administrative nature, yeah, it just defines what the conditional approval is. Pursuant to RSA 676:41I, the board may grant conditional approval for a site plan application without further public hearing only when such conditions are administrative in nature, involve no discretionary judgment on the part of the board, or involve the application's possessions of permits and approvals, and we changed that one, involve the application's possession of permits and approvals granted by other boards or agencies. Yeah, that's
Shouldn't we
just
change
shorter.
that to applicants?
Pardon me?
Shouldn't we change that to applicants, involve the applicant's possession?
I think that's what I said, unless I didn't
No,
say
you
that.
said applications.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, that's how it
Involve the
reads.
applicants.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it reads now.
Oh, yeah, application does say that, but yeah, applicant's possession, right, but so that's good there. So where do we have that? Let me see here. There's something. So did we go over site plan approval will expire? Where does that come in here? Did we just go through that? I must have missed that on my page here. Let me see. I know we've got that site plan approval here, 2 years. There it is, right there. That was the site plan approval will expire. I'm back up in here now to under approvals there. And we didn't skip over that. We got that, right? Yeah, we got that in there. Okay, good. Yeah, I know I'm back to where we go. Because I had it in my notes, it said, see the note, because it's talking about all other conditions shall be recorded on the plat. We don't need that anymore because we covered that in the approval with conditions part of it. We covered what's in there. So you know, we had under B here, all of the conditions shall be recorded on the plat and shall require a compliance hearing and notice under RSA, and it would have been 676-4. But we've covered that under number 6A with approval with conditions, because it says about that in the very first part.
Do we want to revert back to original language?
No, we can cross that right out and back to where, under approval, and I had suggested that we put approval with conditions, colon, and then it spells it out. The planning board may attach conditions, and it goes on that. And then it says, a public compliance hearing will be required within 1 year after the date upon which the board voted to approve it with conditions. That covers that part of it there. So,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Out of matter of curiosity, are you updating the comparison, or are you updating the regulation document?
I'm updating the comparison.
Following what you just mentioned, then under that 1 and 2 become moot.
we're still under conditional approval, right? Number 7?
You know, you just read B.
I read B because that came further, that came under approvals on A. I think it was approvals there, because it talks right on number 6, it talks about the approval with conditions.
No, and yeah, and then, but further coming down the page, you have sub 1 and sub 2, which tie into B,
Is
which
that-
they become moot.
Are you on page number 12?
I'm not sure what page.
Oh, you're on this one. I'm on our site plan regs and these. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, and then we have what you're talking about, that B on this page here, right? You had B?
Which you just read.
Yeah, so we covered that whole thing.
Yeah, so
So
1 and 2,
That
cross
B,
that out also.
that B wouldn't be added in there. We're keeping, under number 7, we're keeping the A where it says pursuant to RSA 676.
Right,
And we're keeping the number 2I, I guess, involve no discretionary, and we're keeping the 3I, involve the application's possession of permits, and so on and so forth. The rest of it, we can cut out. Like, under the B there, it says if a conditional approval has been granted pursuant to, 7A in this section, the conditions need to be met within 1 year of the approval, or the approval is null and void. We covered that up in that last paragraph. So we can cross that out. And C, I think we had already crossed that out. Let's see. If the conditions are met within 1 year, is that still in, am I reading an old one? Is this an old
No.
one, Adam? If the conditions
should be.
are met within 1 year time frame, the
it's
approval
gone.
becomes final without further public hearing. Is that still in our,
Yeah, it should be.
I had it crossed out on mine, I mean, from way back.
Yeah, B and C are still in there.
Okay, we don't really want that in there. Says if the conditions are met within 1 year time frame, the approval becomes final without further public hearing, and the applicant has 1 year from that date to demonstrate active and substantial development as defined in approval 6C. We don't want that in there because that's what got us into trouble there, that other time.
That's really old, isn't it?
It is. I thought we took it out. I had an X in it. I thought if it's still in there, we need to take that C out of there.
Retroactively.
it's not mentioned in this.
No, I know, he didn't have it in this, so it's probably
I think
not
it's
there
gone.
anymore.
I'm
think-
confused, my notes are
Yours are,
pretty jumbled like that too.
Yeah.
I think we,
it's gone. I
addressed
think
that,
so
yeah.
too. If it's not gone, it needs to be gone.
Yeah, because D moved up to C on our spread, on our worksheet here.
Yeah, but I'm just reading what we had in our,
Nope, I
original ones there.
understand.
But yeah, D, moved up to C, which took care of that, and we can cross out the B.
Could we
That
take
talks
C
about-
out retroactively 5 years ago?
We already took, no, we can't do that, no, can't do that.
So everything after A is
Yeah.
gone.
We're in section 7.
Yep.
Okay, and no, we're keeping A and the AI and the, involved, no discretion, we're keeping that, and then everything after that.
Is gone.
The B is gone, C is gone, and, let's see, the D is gone because we've already covered that. That says all other conditions shall require a public hearing. We've already covered that under approval with conditions.
Cross.
And then Therefore, where your right hand is on
Yep.
that page, no, your right hand.
Oh, the other right hand.
The other end, yeah.
Yeah, one and two are no longer valid.
No
Where
longer,
the-
yeah.
That whole thing is crossed out.
Yeah, because
That's
we-
what I was
That was
getting
his
at.
original question.
Yeah, because we've covered it, that was, because we've covered it under that. Well, now that we got around to that, okay, yeah, I think you're right. So,
So, since we really thinned this out, this one, is it complete by itself, reading it? Or do we need to make reference to 6, or the approval section, at any point in 7?
yeah, I don't, we had reference to it before, I think, in that one, yeah, we had
Because you
reference
know
to it
that rule
before.
that, you know, if you're looking and you go, oh, I just need to look at this conditional approval.
Yeah,
And they're gonna read it, but it's not complete by itself.
yeah, I had thought of that in one of these things here, but I think it's in that same, it had something to do with, I don't recall, I don't even see it in my notes anymore, I think I erased them. I think we ought to stop right there, and Adam needs to consolidate it all. I've got some notes
We gotta
here.
look at it again.
And we need to go over it again, just to see what it looks like.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. We can remove 7 and we can put 7 and 6. Is that what you're talking about?
Combine them, no, we don't have to do that. I mean, the 7 is laid out. No, 7 should remain,
stay,
well,
okay.
something should remain that says conditional approval, because
Yep.
we've got, that differentiates it from a regular approval or approval with conditions.
Okay.
My point is, in 6, we do mention conditional approval at one point in 6. So,
Well, we approve, I mean, we mention conditional approval when we're saying that they had the 2 years, which is now 1 year, following the date on which the voters, and which the planning board votes to approve with conditions, or votes to grant a conditional approval. That was there when we had the 2-year one. It was just letting them know that it's moot now, but it was letting them know that they had 2 years to get their permits from the state. But now they only have 1 year.
I'll play around with it. I'll give you guys a fresh draft.
Okay.
We'll go from there.
Yep.
I think that'll be best.
Yep.
I still kind of like the original introduction that I heard you saying at the very beginning when you were just talking, which was to list out, site plan review takes 3 forms, 1, 2, 3, and then expand out each further in the document. You know, sort of like,
Yeah, like, we
this
could
is,
mention that.
you
Yep.
know, it wouldn't hurt.
What was said
Oh,
exactly?
What
Okay.
she's talking about are the 3 different approvals. What you're talking about is spelling it right out, that says an approval from the planning board can either be an approval without conditions, approval with conditions, or a conditional approval.
Yes.
That's what you wanted in there.
Yes.
And we
Just
could, yeah, we
that
could,
sentence.
we could do it in there, yeah.
Because that kind of sets up the reader for what's going to be happening next.
That's fine. We
And, you know,
just-
you can hold that in your head, that, oh yeah, there's this third thing working.
Yeah, we just need to know, yeah, and need them to know that there are 3 different ways of approving.
An approval without conditions.
Would be just a regular approval.
Yep.
Yeah, approval without conditions, yeah, or, yeah, approval without conditions is fine. Approval with conditions and a conditional approval.
Because I
Something
always
like
get
that.
confused about the
Yeah,
with conditions and conditional.
I guess I'm getting confused about conditional approval and approval with conditions,
Okay.
because in my mind they're the same.
they sound the same, that's why we need to differentiate. A conditional approval has to do with permits, and then you don't require a public hearing. An approval with conditions has to do with the site, and that they need to come back for a compliance hearing, and they have to add it onto the site. And approval with no conditions is just what it says.
Yep.
And yet, it feels like we always put conditions on.
We usually do, but
I'll put a
There
little,
could
We
be
have the
one
option not
magic
to.
moment at
Yeah.
some point.
I'll put a little sentence.
yeah, something like that does, as Victoria said, that sort of sets it up.
Victoria wants probably a grid.
I do, you know I
Oh,
do.
you're gonna be getting a lot of grits next year. All right, I can do that.
Okay.
Good progress.
That brings us to anything else for the good of the order. Any updates on committees or any of that type of stuff going on here?
Well, we have the government committees, Governance Committee has March 7th as a warrant article, a meeting, in other words, public meeting on all that. You can come in, Scott and I should be there for the zoning amendments, and we're going to bring in several of the department heads and other people to talk about the warrants.
I thought it was strictly for the changing from SB2.
No, that's the public hearing on February 17th.
Yeah, that's a selectman public hearing.
That's a
That's a
selectman
selectman's hearing for that.
Okay.
But yeah, we need to be there for that.
Yeah. So there's two different dates.
There's a lot of dates floating around right now.
Yeah,
Yeah. Legislatively, I haven't been able to dive into the LSRs. Everybody knows what LSR is, legislation service request. As far as land use goes, because of the bills we had last year on restricting land use, taking away our local control, there's been 12 bills that have been put forth to roll back those. There's some 6 on solid waste, there's 7 on water resources, there's some on wildlife, energy, housing development. HB 631, which is one of, maybe we want to think about, requires municipalities to allow multifamily housing in commercial zones starting July 1st, 2026. In other words, we won't have the option to say, the mill over here, we'd like to do this, this, and that there, at our discretion. What the state is saying, you will allow it, which is,
Do they say commercial zones, or what do they say?
it allows municipalities, implementation of HB 631, which it requires municipalities to allow multifamily housing in commercial zones. Commercial.
But they don't
house
define what the
zone.
commercial zone is.
Commercial
We have
zone.
business zones, we have business 1 and 2, we have commercial, industrial.
But any place you would have a business, they would consider a commercial, I'm guaranteed of that. In other words, we don't have the choice to say, we don't want to allow this here. We can't write an ordinance, a zoning ordinance, to what we think as a town we should do. The state's, again, telling us what we have to do.
Yeah, I mean, I can see concerns about having housing in commercial areas. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
the
always
Uh,
type of
concerns there.
traffic.
But the whole thing, and I can too, Mark,
Yeah.
but the whole thing is, to me, is the state's coming down and telling us we have to do certain things, which our people in our town probably don't like.
No,
And that's up to us to decide with our townspeople. They're taking those rights away from us.
Right.
They've been traditionally our rights.
Well, you're going to testify on that one?
Yes, if I can find out when it is.
Well,
If you guys want me to testify as a private person, that's one thing, but if the board feels I can go there and speak for the zoning board in town, that's another thing. I don't, unless the zoning board says, you're speaking for us, Mike, I go there as a private citizen.
I prefer you do it as a private
Yep,
citizen, because I
that's
don't have
fine with
enough
me.
information to know what you'd be
Right.
talking about. So,
so you can't mention any of our
you
names?
do you.
I would never mention anybody's names.
But
Never.
go and raise some hell.
Huh?
Go and raise some hell.
So,
Good trouble.
I do mention the fact that I am a member of the Swanzey Planning Board, which is
That's fine.
good,
Yeah.
but I don't say I'm speaking for the planning board.
Yeah.
I never do that. Like on the Sanctuary City, I came that I had, whatever I was doing in town at the time, what the board was on, but I didn't say, well, I'm representing these people.
Well,
motion to adjourn?
Can I, just
Just a
one
second.
other thing quick?
no,
Oh,
second.
you-
Go
Were
ahead.
you about to say?
I'm going to say something too, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I just was about the zoning update. I guess
Oh, yeah.
we're contracting with Southwest.
Yep, so,
And I just want to say, I was like, is this going to be okay? But I'm really happy that we're doing that, because I feel very confident that they know us.
oh, yes.
Yes.
So small update there. We have a proposal from Southwest Regional Planning Commission. I think it's important to stay within Cheshire County. I am going to be speaking before the select board, I think the last meeting of February, for 2 reasons. One, I need to request permission to bypass the purchasing policy the town has in place. Any purchases over $9,999 need to be bid. This I want to bypass that bidding process to do this, so I need the selectmen's permission. Number one. Number two is we're gonna be going over the scope of work which we provided to the town. They listed out the number of services that are going to provide. I think you all will be very happy with them. You guys won't see them until they're approved by the select board. So keep on the lookout, and I am available for any questions. So more to come. I think, first meeting of March, if that meeting's too busy, second meeting of March. And then maybe look forward to seeing SWRPC in early April
First meeting in March for what?
for seeing the proposal.
Okay.
Specifically the scope of work, because you guys will be very involved with that scope of work. It's kind of a hands-on process, so anything that you see in the ordinance, like today, for example, kennels aren't called out in the business district. Do they need to be? Maybe not, because we have a service establishment, things like that. Just keep an eye out.
One request I can make now is if they can bring a sample of the kind of setup layout that they might
Oh,
be
yeah.
anticipating doing.
Sure.
So we
Yeah,
can
you could-
visualize how our, our stuff might fit into that format.
Now, could you also find out if a kennel license is required by those people?
Possibly March,
First
Well-
meeting in March.
I think it's odd that a private citizen has to have one,
You
but
can ask it, yeah, ask those guys, Southwest. So,
actually, that would be probably a town ordinance. I can check the state law. But-
we had a meeting of the Water Committee today.
Oh, cool.
With some of the representatives for the, I guess there's gonna be a new combination, maybe Water and Sewer Committee being formed in town here, or I don't know, they didn't really specify. But anyways, we're discussing the West Swansea Water Company, had an engineering report today by the engineers, and discussed options of getting service from Keene, running a pipe all the ways down from Keene to Swansea here, and not even using the water company, or no, water company's wells, using the water company's service and their customers. And discussed a little bit about a water tower going up in here, and the best place suited for one of those is up Forest Avenue, and it's on some of the land owned by the Humane Society up here. And it looks like preliminarily that they're in agreement with putting a water tower up there, or letting us put a water tower up there, I guess, purchasing the land or something. And then running pipe down Forest Avenue, out to Route 10, down Route 10, and hooking onto the West Swansea Water Company somewhere, not exactly sure, maybe West Street, something like that. So, and it looked like the consensus was that the town would pursue a water tank and purchasing the water system and using those wells, as opposed to a water line going to Keene and purchasing the water from Keene and not using those wells. So that was pretty much what was said there, I think.
Now, how far south did you think you'd go?
South?
Yeah, on Route 10.
Just to where we can hook up to the West Swansea Water Company, which the closest place would be West Street.
Yeah, and then how far does the present one go down Route 10?
It goes down to Evergreen Knoll.
Okay, so the
And that-
park would be able to hook in if they wanted to.
They could, but the park's got, they just redid their well system.
What
down
about
there.
down to the Creamy Cone area or something? Would that be advantageous to have it down that way?
It might be, it could be extended down there, but at this point, it probably won't be. Got enough to do, if the town takes over that water system.
Yeah.
Got enough to do with deciding on a plan, upgrade plan, and getting those things in order, getting a water tower up there, and just looking over the whole thing. The system is running now, can run. There's nothing that anybody knows of that's about to go wrong with the system. The pipes in the ground are fine, they have been fine, and can still be used. The major concern is the water storage, because we're at capacity storage with that system over there. Can't hook on anymore. If we get a water tank up there, run that pipe down to, we'll say, West Street, we'd be pretty good.
How far of a run is that?
Do we know if
That's
the,
a long run.
That's what I'm thinking.
It is.
do we know if the forgivable loan will be available again this coming year?
That's one of the reasons we kind of had to decide which direction we're going in, because the applications are like in April or something like that, I think is what he said. So have to get going on that, and I know it'd be a year or more,
You
something
guys
like.
gonna have more public meetings that we can actually go and?
There'll be, as soon as the committee really isn't formed yet, we gotta have an organizational meeting in a week or two, I don't know whenever it's gonna be, so we gotta decide who's gonna be what in that. And then there'll be meetings, I'm sure, posted on the website as to what it's gonna be. Another one will be with the engineer probably in May or something like that, whenever he gets more information. So that's where it's going, and no real word from the water company. We plan to meet with the operator of the water company just to see what they have or have not been doing as far as maintaining the company and the lines and the valves and things.
You're gonna have to line up the cost too, just to purchase it.
Yeah, that's another thing. Sally has passed away, so I would assume that young Doug, her son, and probably
Is Nancy still
Duncan, I
around?
think. Yeah, Nancy, she has nothing to do with it.
No?
Probably Duncan, one of the brothers, her brother-in-law, is probably
Yeah.
running it with
Yeah,
young
'cause
Doug Brown.
the
I
other
guess.
brother was dead.
Uh,
Derek. was-
Derek and
yeah,
Doug.
Yeah.
There's another one, Digby, he lives in Connecticut. I think he's still alive. So that's where it stands. A lot of work to do, talking to the water company and seeing where they stand and, what kind of cost that would be. It was also discussed, what would happen if the company did just fold or something happened to it.
But it's very important to our expansion
And
of the
again-
businesses down through there.
Again,
It's
what
very
would happen
important.
there, it was, we researched that in the committee I was on years ago with that, and it looks like the state would be the ones to take a water company like that over a private company if it failed, and they would be strong-arming the town that it was in to take it over,
That's
which is
right.
no problem for us,
Yeah.
so, that's what would happen in that case. If something substantial happened, it wouldn't be a huge problem. We'll say if a pump went, you replace the pump. If a pipe broke, you fix the pipe. But other than that, it can keep on going. So that's where we're
I'm
at.
just glad you want to go up on Forest Hill instead of mine,
How high is your hill?
higher than Forest Hill.
You offering up there?
No, but
Oh.
you can't afford it. That's going, all that property's going to the conservatory eventually.
Yeah, it doesn't, yeah, I guess.
You
it
can't
doesn't
build up in there
work,
anyway. You
yeah.
can put a tower up there, but you can't build houses up in there. 25, 30%
Well, they'd have their,
slopes.
still gonna have their work cut out for them for a tank up on Forest Avenue. They're talking about a 400,000 gallon
Yeah.
reinforced, pre-stressed concrete tank, which
I
is the
think
one.
they're about 800 feet up there, and I think I'm 1,200.
No, they aren't 800 feet.
They're not that
They're
6, 7?
around 613
Yeah, substantially.
or something like that,
That's
630
substantially less than
feet,
mine.
something like that.
What's the elevation?
But a house
for West
sits-
Avenue? What's the elevation down here?
Down here, we're about 480, I would
Yeah.
guess. Yeah, right in
But my
there.
house sits about 700, but up on the hill, it's 1,200 way up on top of the hill.
Well, unfortunately, I guess we can't have that area there.
No, you can't have it. Plus,
But,
when you get up there, you get into Pisgah Park too.
Yeah, it'd be a little bit of a longer run. So that tank would probably be around 50 feet in diameter and probably 27 or 30 feet high. So that'd be a pretty sizable,
Got to make it look like
Structure
a
up
tree
there.
though,
That
so people don't
compares
get
to the
mad.
one in Keene, on the up beyond Robin Hood Park.
I don't know how many gallons, do you know how many gallons that
I
is?
don't.
We're talking about 400,000 gallons here.
Yeah.
Don't know that, no.
I don't know. I just know
Yeah.
how big it is, from looking at it.
So they'd have pressure from the tank up on Forest Avenue, probably around between 40 and 50 pounds probably at the mill, I would guess from that, which
Because
is,
that's how gravity
it's not
is.
great, but it's okay, that's without a booster in it.
And the more people you get on a system like that, the cheaper the rates will be.
Well, that's the other thing, the
The other,
rates are
well,
gonna
the
skyrocket.
other thing you got to sell in town is the people on the other side of town realize they're not going to be paying those rates because they're not paying for it anymore than us over this side pay for the North Swansea water.
That'll be a whole nother discussion,
Yes.
as promoting it.
A lot of
That's
people
the
already
outreach
think they're
part.
paying for the North Swansea water.
So.
When I see those messages come, it's like, really? You think you're paying for it? You live in North Swansea?
I'm certainly not going to hook up to it.
Your
Can we get a
motion?
second?
I was waiting, you gotta make that motion again.
I've got to do it again?
You do have to do it
I'll
again.
make a motion, we
Motion,
adjourn.
motion to adjourn by Richard, is there a second?
Second.
Charlie seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, we're adjourned, thanks. We're good.
No matter somebody's voted or not.
No.